Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new Q&A Friday. Today in Finland we celebrate the day of Mikael Agricola, or the day of the Finnish language. And why Mikael Agricola? He was the one who wrote the first Finnish ABCs, and he was the one to translate the Bible into Finnish. So it's only fitting that his name is connected with our beloved language. So hope you all have fun learning Finnish today. I most certainly will. But first, let's go through some questions, shall we? Nightmare Opera asks, welcome back, nice to have you here. Are there any stage directors you would especially like to work with? Well, I'm just going to mention one, which is Pierre, because I saw his production of L'Orfeo at the Dutch National Opera, and it had a really dark mood going on through and through. That it had this really eerie feel about it, and that there was a lot of physical movement, dancing, stuff like that. And John Mark Ainsley, who was playing the role of Orfeo, he was singing in these really weird positions all the time, like he was laying on his stomach and singing, and it gave a really odd feel all the time. So I think I would love to work with Pierre, I think. Are there any elaborate productions that really stand out in your mind? Il ritorno di Ulisse by Jean-Pierre Ponel was something I really enjoyed watching. I'll put a link on it down below. I mean, costumes, everything is just so beautiful. It's just lovely to look at how all the gods, the symbolic characters, the heroes, heroines, antagonists, how they are dressed. It's lovely to watch and listen to, and the animated facial expressions are also fun to look at. Definitely check that out. Marie asks, in a previous Q&A you talked about different languages you've sung in and that you enjoyed them all, but they have their challenges. So I'm curious, what are the difficulties of different languages to you? I'll take a few examples here. In Russian, for example, reading the Cyrillic alphabet, I read it quite slowly, so it takes a long time to read through a text. And of course, the different S sounds, there are, I think, 7 of them in Russian, all the different S, Z, Sh, Z, Zh things, they take a long time to master and put them into phrases and sound good. That's one. And then in Czech, the amount of consonants that can be after each other, like words like smrticm and so forth, are quite tough. Of course, it gets better with time. And then with Italian, to get those vowels just right, especially while singing high notes and getting those vowels right, it's tough. That's a tough one, but I'm getting better. Step by step, no hurry, no rush. Those are a few examples. Is there any role you wouldn't do, like for example the values of the character or the message of the opera is too far away from your own beliefs? Or any other reason, or any other reason, what would it be? Well, in opera we are telling stories. Some may be based on true stories, of course. And we often sing the role of the bad guy, which is the best thing you can do in opera, in my humble opinion. So no, I wouldn't deny a role because I do not agree with the character I'm playing, or the opera might not have the overall message that I want to. No, that I wouldn't do. But some reason would be if there would be a stage director who had a clear propaganda aspect of we're going to do a production of an opera and we're going to give out a message through that production that is way too reprehensible for me to be able to do it. So I would definitely give a hard pass to something like that. I don't know yet what it would exactly be, because I've never been in that situation that I'm being splattered with, something, oh, you have to do this thing, which is really awful. Deal with it. Nah. But something like that, something reprehensible I wouldn't do. Ebru asks, hello, my love. Thank you for asking a question. A variety of stories are told in operas based on strong characters, concepts, and emotions. What kind of contemporary story or concept would you consider as worthy of having an opera about? Yes, a dangling preposition. Yes. The preposition is dangling, dangling, dangling. Well, if it were to be a book, I would love to have a Discworld opera. That would be nice and crazy to do. Mm, yeah, something of the Night's Watch, maybe. I don't know. There are so many good Discworld novels, but I want to do the role of Death. Golden rule. I get to do Death. On TV series, I think that Carl Sagan's Cosmos or Seth MacFarlane's Cosmos, that would be something really cool to have all these different scientific discoveries come to life in an opera. That would be so beautiful. Seth MacFarlane and Andrew and get on it. I think it would be beautiful. People would love it. I would. And then maybe some kind of current event. I kind of think that a presidential debate would be a lot of fun to do. You know, you got candidate one, candidate two, and a moderator, and how it would get messy at some times, and sometimes the words would become really horrible. You know, yeah, having all those duets and terzettos in this. Yeah, I think there's something there. A political debate opera. I'm getting the taste for it. Hopefully somebody does that. So, Richard, the Riddler Langelotti asks, riddle me this, Batman. What are your favorite basso profundo roles in the Baroque, classical, romantic, and modern era? My favorite from the Baroque, well, I'm going a bit earlier. I'm going back to Il Ritorno di Ulisse in Patria. It would be Nettuno, because it's written for a very low voice and it has really low coloratura going on. That's a really unique role and great for a beginning bass to sing Nettuno. Highly recommend it, and if you have a really low voice, it won't scare you away. It's great for that. Then from the classical, from Die Entführung aus dem Serai by Mozart, that would be the role of Osmin. Lots of fun. It's got a lot of low notes, but also really high notes, so it really gives you the chance to show off your range and how good you sound up above and down below. Great role to do. In the Romantic era, there aren't too many really profundo roles. I mean, none of them are comparable to Osmin or Nettuno, but I would say Sparafucillin Rigoletto is a great one. It's got some beautiful low tones there going on, and it's a very energetic role, and a really, really bad guy. And in the modern, well, Richard, you coined it beforehand. It would be Herr Doctor from Wozzeck by Alban Berg. A terrible, terrible doctor, a horrible, horrible person. But such is life, Wozzeck. So, Richard asks, and is Bryn Terfel a baritone or bass-baritone? A just question, my liege. What are you, Bryn? Tell us. Tell us the truth. What are you, Bryn? We don't know. You must tell us. Please. Christina Andersson asks, why was Christoph Schlingensief's Parsifal in Bayreuth a masterpiece? Well, personally, I didn't think it was a masterpiece, but I understand why people would think that. It did tap into the what was it? The book again, the Da Vinci Code hype. Yeah, it tapped into the Da Vinci Code hype really well, and there was a lot of symbolism with, people dipping their hands into a chalice with period blood and making symbols here and there, and then the rotting rabbit corpse in the end. There was a lot of symbolism all over the place. I thought, okay, this is not exactly my thing, but I understand why people would love it, and it did get a really loud boo reaction, if I remember correctly, but that's part of the Bayreuth circus. First the audience makes the biggest boo you have ever heard, and when they get used to the production, well, then it gets its applause. It's a bit of theater between crowd and performers in Bayreuth, isn't it? A bit, at least a bit. So, Anton Price asks, hello Anton. Anton is a composer, and he has the most beautiful handwriting I have ever seen. I mean, it's so great to look at. So anyway, is there any advice you might give a composer on writing for deep bass voice? Not perhaps the advice they all ought to know by now to avoid an uneventful line, but with regards to things that are often overlooked beside that. Well, one thing that I've noticed with composers ever since the Romantic era until today, composers seem to be afraid to write really low lines, that a few low notes here and there, but doing really low lines. And because it could be done. I mean, because like with Claudio Monteverdi, okay, his orchestras weren't that big as with Wagner. So of course, he had the chance to write really beautiful low lines because a lute is chimey enough so that the low resonance of the bass voice will resonate nicely. But a lot of modern composers, they may only write for piano and song. So don't be afraid to play with low lines, play around with them, because those are a lot of fun to sing, a lot of fun to do. So that's one thing that I think that would be I could give as a piece of advice. Don't be afraid of the low notes. They're fun. They're fun to sing, and they sound fun too. They sound great. Then, which composer writes the best for the bass voice? Are there any specific passages you could mention why this is the case? Well, Claudio Monteverdi, I would have to come back to him again. He wrote really great stuff for a really low voice. And it was just the sign of the times, I guess, because his orchestra didn't have a big bass bottom like Wagner did. So Wagner wrote really high rolls for a bass. And so Monteverdi has been really kind to us through, even though it's been hundreds and hundreds of years, but still Monteverdi's kindness to us, I'm very thankful for that, and a lot of fun to sing. But did he write the best things for a bass voice? I don't know. I kind of like how the Romantic era composers push the limits as well. So yeah, Wagner and Verdi did a great job as well. Which composer writes worst for bass voice in your experience? Oh, now I'm going to be a bit of a hypocrite because I just mentioned Verdi to be great, but Verdi can be a really horrible to us basses sometimes. My goodness, singing Attilites, he really pushes the envelope of what a really low voice can do. And it seems that he didn't care about how the singer feels that much. It just has to sound great. So Verdi is always a big challenge. I'm always up for the challenge. I love his music a lot, but yeah, the frustration gets very real at times. He wasn't bad at composing, but he could be really mean, super mean. Verdi was mean. Then Zap Varespa asks, hello Zap Varespa, great nickname again. Hey Tommy, I was curious to know what you think about the symphonic metal genre. There are loads of these types of bands from Scandinavian countries. Are there any groups or performers that stand out to you? Well, I love symphonic metal. I love listening how there are big orchestrations going on. If there are three groups, I'm going to mention three groups that I really love. Nightwish, our own home country heroes, love them, love their music. Then the American group Camelot, well, they have a Swedish singer, and their previous singer was Norwegian, Roy Kahn. Man, I wish he would still sing for Camelot. I love his voice so much. And as a third, Rhapsody from Italy. Now Nightwish, pretty much, it's very film music driven. That is really wonderful, and they had Richard Dawkins read on their greatest show on earth, which was also a lot of fun. That there was an evolutionary tale which became this 25-minute song for a metal band, which is highly unusual. And then for Camelot, I mean, they did a whole 2 albums based on the story of Faust, which is a very common operatic theme as well. And they also wrote something called Ghost Opera. I mean, they really have the drama in music. They made it work very well. And Rhapsody, they actually use a lot of classical music and even passages from opera in their music. They've used Dvořák's Ninth Symphony in one of their songs, and then they did from La Tempesta. They had one of their chorus lines to be from that by Verdi. I mean, they're really crazy with their action, and I love it how they actually are opera lovers themselves. So listen to them. Rhapsody, Camelot, and Nightwish. Excellent stuff. And finally, Tiina Airaksinen. Nice to hear you again. How is it going on this rainy Friday? Well, I just got my boots from the shoemakers, even though it was rainy, but my mom took me there, so thanks, I didn't get wet. I actually love looking at the rain outside, it's lovely, but it's much lovelier while staying inside. Looks great though out there. Love it. How many hours will you practice today or during this weekend, Tommy? Going by feel. I probably just a maximum of 2 hours a day. I will be going back to Stockholm Opera Studio on Monday morning, so then I will be doing these really long days. So I'm just going to take it easy, just vocal exercises and learning Italian and going through the music of Orlando, but not stressing it right now, just taking it easy. Well, this is the longest Q&A video I've done so far, and excellent questions. My goodness, these are so much fun to answer and so much fun to hear from you. Well, have a great weekend, everybody, and please like, please subscribe and share with your friends. Until next time, fare thee well.